PM with Mateko Musito. Expert insights and real conversations on Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Flip the music. It's like something doing me bottle, yeah. Are you looking for me? Well, bottle, yeah. It's like I'm walking far away to you. Baby, don't try me, come closer, let me do you this. Big body pocket, what you say now? The way you do me so, don't call me bye-bye. I be needing my peace, so big body pocket, what you say now? It's like there's something running down below. When you do me like this, and I really wanna say nice things, just go shut your door. Oh, you know I be. It's still we go inside that grave. Cause if you wouldn't know my life, bacala me, you know. Bacala me, you know. Another hit, you know. Another hit, you know. Bacala me, you know. Bacala me, you know. Cause if you willing on my like this, I will come through. I will come running right there with you. And you know like this, so and if you tell me your wishes, I will come through. I will come running right there with you. And you know like this, so it's like I'm walking far away to you. Baby, don't try me, come closer, let me do you this. Big body pocket, what you say now? The way you do me so, don't call me bye-bye. I be needing my peace, so big body pocket, what you say now? It's like there's something running down below. When you do me like this, and I really wanna say nice things, just go shut your door. Oh, you know I be. It's still we go inside that grave. It's like there's something running down below. When you do me like this, and I really wanna say nice things, just go shut your door. Oh, you know I be. It's still we go inside that grave. Cause if you wouldn't know my life, bacala me, you know. Another hit, you know. Another cause if you wouldn't know my life,
Thank you very much for tuning in. Planting the Seed is what you're tuning into. This is us talking all things agriculture between now and 2 p.m. in Central African time. My name is Mateko Musito, here to host the space for you. And there is lots to talk about. So much to talk about. Food Forward South Africa is on the show today for the very first time. Always good to make some new friends on our show. And we're going to be speaking about Food Forward South Africa and the University of Cape Town, but also how they're working together with SALJU, revealing a deepening hunger crisis here in South Africa. Rising food prices, issues like unemployment, stagnant income are pushing millions of people into desperation. So we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about how nearly 16 million people now face inadequate access to food. So food insecurity being a major issue in South Africa. So we're going to tackle it with our good friends at Food Forward South Africa. Also coming through, we're going to pay attention to what's happening with our favorite food rescue company, SA Harvest, are on the show. And for the first time, we have the CEO, who actually, just by the way, Ozzy Nell, was appointed Chief Executive Officer yesterday. So injecting lots of novelty into that conversation. It's going to be all about celebration and talking about some of the new programs at SA Harvest. So stay tuned for that. Also, Food from Mzansi had put together, I'm sure if you caught the show last week, we're speaking to Ivor Price in his capacity as the co-founder of Food from Mzansi, talking about this particular summit that took place yesterday in Johannesburg, in the township of Soweto at the University of Johannesburg. And it was a gathering of people from the agricultural fraternity and talking about climate matters. So Dr. Ndeke was on stage. The good folks at one of the good banks came through, and we actually are going to be playing a snippet from that to give you a sense of climate action, but I think interestingly the space of corporate in matters of climate change. I mean, there was a Dr. Emily there who gave such a wonderful speech that I want to play for you. Her keynote really addressed what the bank is doing, how they are assisting farmers at no cost to really make sure that they are climate smart, and teaching the farmers that were in the room on the day how to become climate smart and what the carbon emissions look like as you and I speak. So lots to unpack on the show today. Should you wish to audio stream visually, YouTube and Facebook is where you can find us. Just look for Channel Africa. You can find us on the good World Wide Web, traditionally channelafrica.co.za, and on satellite on channel PAS10 across the African region. My name is Matsako Musito. Thank you for joining me.
Tune in and turn up the volume. This is Channel Africa.
dziko lapansi likuyang'ana mzinda wa Johannesburg. Atsogoleri ochokera m'mayiko akuluakulu azachuma pa dziko lapansi akumana kukambirana njira zomwe zingasinthe mayiko, misika komanso zatsogolo la mayiko. Mukudziwa kale kuti Channel Africa idzakhala komweko kukubweretserani zokambirana zamkatinkati komanso akatswiri kusanthula zomwe zili zofunikira. Msonkhano wa G20 kuyambira pa 22 pakana pa 23 mwezi wa Novembala monga momwe ukuchitikira. Khalani cheru ku Channel Africa, kalilole wa Africa.
The G20 Summit through African eyes, live updates, and expert voices only on Channel Africa.
Wanasema jisema sambore
through with music by Kajanin Sambolera. Thank you for being here, for planting the seed. We are talking all things agriculture, 13 minutes into 12 midday. So the Summit on Climate Change and Agriculture took place yesterday. So this is literally fresh off of the stage, if I could put it that way. It was a get-together of experts and a room full of people that are participating in the agricultural value chain. So from farmers to, agricultural writers and communicators to agricultural advisors that were also in the University Hall at the University of Johannesburg Soweto campus. And this was an occasion put together by Food for Mzansi. So I really wanted us to check in with what happened at this particular summit. I was in the room as well. It was very, very interesting to see how Dr. Ndege Muse shaped the conversation around agricultural planetary boundaries audit framework, which is the entity that he heads, and the work that is done there. Also in the room was Simphiwe Sithole. Mam Simphiwe Sithole, I call her Queen Mabele. She's absolutely amazing. She's a farmer from Mpumalanga. She came to Johannesburg to share her knowledge on indigenous plants and how to grow them and how to eat them, from sorghum to millet to all kinds of really delicious foods. And it was really just so beautiful to learn from her. Also in the room was a representative from one of the big banks here in South Africa. And we were basically got to get knowledge on how banks are participating in the agricultural space. What does it look like? What does it mean for a big corporate to assist farmers in matters to do with climate change as things unfold, as things evolve, and also looking at investment into agriculture through this banking entity. We're going to play you a clip from that, and then we will talk some more afterwards.
Weight of the sky that won't open above you. Why does this matter? Because agriculture is deeply embedded into climate, or deeply embedded in Africa. If we think about Africa's statistics, 95% of agriculture is rain-fed. Agriculture employs about 55 to 62% of throughout the value chain. Physical risk like extreme storms, wildfires, invasive species, foot and mouth disease are all driven and exacerbated by extreme weather. Transition risk, on the other side, is rising due to carbon prices, investor pressure, shifting consumer preferences. That is reshaping the markets that we need to sell into. Climate change is also accelerating faster than expected. The African continent warmed at 0.3% per decade between 1991 and 2023. And the global temperatures has hovered above 1.5 degrees Celsius. So I'm not sure if anyone here today know about the Paris Agreement, which South Africa is one of the signatories. It was a treaty made in 2015. And the purpose of this treaty is to make sure that global temperatures stay below 1.5 degrees Celsius. And that will have a ripple effect if we transgress that. And the previous speaker about the planetary boundaries, how will that have a ripple effect across these boundaries? In May this year, we already transgressed 1.5 degrees of global temperatures. Another statistics that I put here on the screen is that in September 2025, the global warming reached, and I've mentioned 1.4 globally, above pre-industrial levels. We'll hit 1.5 degree by May 2029. It's just 4 years away. But in 2015, when we signed the Paris Agreement, scientists thought that we had until the year 2042 to reach 1.5 degrees Celsius. So the reality is that we're getting there much faster. And climate change affects every link of the agricultural value chain, from input providers up until consumers, up until government and financiers. For financiers, this means that there's a higher risk exposure, raising insurance costs, and reduced approved loans for farmers. For farmers, it means greater uncertainty and a pressure to adapt to these changing weathers. So the effect of climate change across the value chain shouldn't be addressed in isolation, but we need to find a collective approach how to address this. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about sustainability and ESG. It's words, it's a concept, it's a mantra, and that businesses are, adopting. So famously, the Brundtland Report defines sustainability as the development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. For us as a bank, it means delivering positive financial income or outcomes for our shareholders, but also driving change or economic growth for our clients and creating positive impacts on the societies. See it as twofold: maximizing opportunity through positive impact and reducing and minimizing risks. So this is from an agribusiness or a bank financier perspective. But what does ESG actually then mean for agriculture? And I want to actually just mention that sustainability it's a mantra, it's a vision, it's a long-term growth. ESG is a tool that businesses apply to manage their risk. And it's built upon 3 legs. You know the African 3-legged pot where we cook in? Now, if you think about ESG, think about it in that the 3-legged pot. First, it needs to be the environmental benefits. Secondly, economic benefits. And then thirdly, governance pillar. Now, if the social it's environmental, social, and governance. Now, if that pot becomes unstable, we cannot have sustainable practices, and we cannot, proceed to employ or entrench this concept. Now, for small-scale farmers, this means if we apply these principles, it means better access to finance, improved resilience, and the ability to command premium prices for sustainability practices. So ESG is about managing risk and unlocking opportunities. Now, for an example, if you think about the environmental pillar, it's using water efficiently on a farm, looking at your renewable energy, soil management practices. From a social perspective, it's addressing things like child labor, minimum wage, health and safety on a farm. And then thirdly, governance pillar is within a company, applying board principles, good governance principles within your company. So it's essentially looking at these and applying it back to your business to be more sustainable. Now, why is sustainability so important for us? Some of the benefits include cost reduction through resource efficiency, access to new markets driven by consumer demand for sustainable products. So what that essentially means is, if you have a Woolworths, and a Woolworths wants to buy from you, but the off-taker require that this needs to be an organic product, and at no fertilizer usage, or you need to apply regenerative agricultural products for your farm. It means that you can get access to premium markets because consumers will pay for quality and nutritious food. So that is just an example. And then regulatory compliance that can also force farmers out to farm. But ESG is a powerful risk to manage tools to manage risk, while sustainability is a long-term commitment. Now, every farmer here, do I personally believe, understands sustainability because you farm with the future in mind, for your children and for your grandchildren. So by embedding these sustainable practices, you're not only protecting the land, but also securing a legacy for your offspring. Now, the benefits and the reasons are clear, as you can see from the screen. It's cost reduction through resource efficiency, opening new markets, ethical and traceable products, and compliance with evolving regulatory requirements. Ultimately, because sustainability shouldn't be a burden for your business, but it bridges to competitiveness, resilience, and prosperity. And please keep that in mind. Now, when we think about climate smart agriculture, it's not doing climate smart agriculture is not about doing more with less. It's about doing better for tomorrow. And it's built upon a 3-pronged approach. Firstly, we want to see how you reduce your emissions on farm. Secondly, how you're building resilience with droughts or making your farming business more resilient to climate shocks. And then thirdly, sustain and have increased productivity and incomes. If your business do well, a bank does well. And then ultimately, climate smart agriculture embodies environmental benefits and also social benefits like job creation that can flow from that. But what drives climate smart agriculture? And as you'll see from the screen, I've mentioned earlier, consumers want to have better products. And I'll go a little bit later on what does it mean for the consumer. Technology and innovation, risk management. Corporate companies want to understand how your supply chain look like. For example, how does your carbon footprint look from where an arrow is planted back in Limpopo and when it ends up in a shipping container in the Cape at the harbour to be shipped off to the UK for a local supermarket. Or whether it's your livestock emissions on your farm. These are the type of futuristic but also very, very, very true to nature now currently is what financiers, off-takers, big companies want to know is how does your carbon footprint look on your farm? But there's also a lot of environmental benefits at the end of the day when you're applying climate smart practices. So climate change, we've talked a lot about, the previous speaker spoke about the impact, but it's built upon two approaches. So mitigation is the one lever. It's about reducing your carbon footprint on the farm, sequestering or avoiding CO2. That means looking at how you're using diesel, for example, diesel tractors, better fuel efficient tractors, or enhancing renewable energy, switching from Eskom energy back to renewable energy. The adaptation, on the other hand, is creating resilience, and that is actually more important for African agriculture. We are already feeling the impacts of drought, flooding, wildfires on our farm. But what are we doing? What practices are we applying to make our business more resilient so that we can keep our farmers on their farm, our people nourished and fed, and we can also help our communities at the end of the day? So those are the two big elements that ultimately leads to increased productivity for the farm. Now, some of the opportunities that comes from this is regenerative agriculture could increase Africa's GDP by more than 20%, create up to 5 million jobs by the year 2040, and then improve yields by 13% or more. So it has a range of environmental benefits. Now, this was a study done on regenerative agriculture across the continent, not only South Africa. Because when we look at Africa, we need to look at all our people. We export to other countries export back, we import from other countries in Africa, so we need to support localization. But adopting CSA or climate smart agriculture is not a nice to have. It's a smart business decision. It makes farms more productive, more resilient, and more profitable at the end of the day. And we all have a role in supporting sustainable practices, whether it's you as a farmer or as a consumer buying the products. Now, what does good look like? Good look like from a banking perspective. It means moving away from conventional practices that leaves us exposed to droughts, soil degradation, high energy costs, or outdated water systems. Imagine the impact if we finance technologies, solar power, water, irrigation systems, organic fertilizers, drought-resistant crops. It's truly a sustainable food chain from farm to fork, integrates renewable energy with no tillage practices, looking at the circular economy model where you use your waste, for example, from livestock, your methane gas, put that back into clean cooking solutions within your house, using the organic fertilizer that come from that. It's looking at farming holistically, integratedly, and ecologically. If you also look at the value chain, so this is just a slide with some examples, from farm to fork. What is the type of practices, whether it's, I've spoken about no-tillage farming or regenerative agriculture, or using climate-controlled cold storage rooms, for example, or when from a manufacturing point of view, sustainable packaging solutions, from distribution and retail, eco-friendly supply chains, or lastly, using biodegradable packaging. That is also where consumers want to see is that you are environmentally conscious in your decisions. So farmers who embrace sustainability will ultimately lead the markets, because that is where big companies want to see growth and also opportunities. But for small-scale farmers, it also means moving away from survival to success. Sustainability shouldn't be a barrier. It should be a way or a bridge to competitiveness in a market. It will set you apart from other farmers. Now, while we're talking about markets, accessing markets, finance is one of the most powerful levers to drive climate finance. But also, we need to look at consumer trends. Now, on the screen, you'll see that there's a few, elements on key trends that's reshaping how we see global food systems. After the COVID-19 pandemic, consumers are very much more conscious on what they put into their bodies. But they also have sustainability in mind. There's a restaurant or a few restaurants in the European Union that on the menu you can actually see when you order something on the menu what is the carbon footprint associated with that meal.
Wow.
If you order a steak, for example, it would have a red, a red, let's say, check or something to say this is obviously from livestock high emissions. Or when you you order a salad, it's got lower emissions. So with sustainability in mind, consumers are more actively seeking healthier options. Transparency and traceability, they want to know when they go to a shop, they want to see this is a non-GMO or this is a recycled product that they are buying. But they demand quality at the end of the day and longer shelf life. And this is just some of the views, futuristic views on why sustainability is important for farmers, but also for a bank, is we want to see your business grow, and we need to take these type of risk into consideration. Now, while we're talking about markets and finance, carbon credits or carbon markets are reshaping how we are thinking about finance in the future. Carbon markets create economic incentives for reducing emissions. So what it essentially means is 1 ton of carbon dioxide on your farm is equals to 1 carbon credit. And why do we as a bank prioritize this? It's because carbon markets unlock opportunities for farmers and agribusinesses to apply sustainable practices throughout the value chain. So globally, there's 2 types of markets. We've got a voluntary market and we've got a mandatory market. Now what that means in simple language, because this carbon credit you can sell onto the voluntary market or the mandatory market. So voluntary market is you can sell your carbon credit for dollars internationally, and a company like Microsoft will then buy it from you because you are sequestering carbon, you're doing good for the environment, and you're showcasing environmental stewardship. On the mandatory market, which is we have in South Africa, is we've got a carbon tax that regulates our carbon credit pricing. So, for example, Sasol needs to pay carbon tax every year of, let's say, 1.5 billion rand of carbon tax, but they can offset that tax liability by buying carbon credits from farmers like you. If you have a registered project in mind, there's a whole administrative process behind this, but just to land the concept with you, that you can be incentivized through these markets for farming sustainably.
12:31, the voice of Dr. Andrea Kampfer, who was talking at an agriculture climate summit as put together by Food from Mzansi yesterday, and she was talking there about building resilient futures for food-ready systems, and she was representing one of the big banks. And basically, much of what she was talking about was really about how we can leverage carbon markets. Renewable energy was a big one for her, as well as regenerative practices in South Africa and adopting climate smart agriculture for droughts, for flood, for heat adaptation. Very, very important work. And that was just a snippet. Okay, should we find another gap on the show, but later on, just after 1:30, we will play another audio clip just to hear some words from Spios Tole, who is just an amazing mama farmer. And she came through from Mpumalanga to come and join this particular summit that took place at the UJ Soweto campus to talk about the work that she does in growing indigenous plants. Food Forward South Africa joins me on the line just after we take a musical break.
The sound of Africa is evolving. Experience our new mobile app. Free to download, free to connect.
ديرني في بالك يلي نهواك، أنا قلبي اختارك، قلبي اختارك وما صرت أدواك. اليوم راك معايا وغدوة يا دراك. دي حوال الدنيا، حوال الدنيا حلوة مرة. غير انت، غير انت، غير انت دخلت قلبي. غير انت، غير انت، غير انت اللي سكن قلبي. حالي محيرني، ليلي سهرني، ويا شاوري حرام يا عمري تعذب فيا. ربيع ما يدوم الورد يتبان، أنا حالي معدوم، حالي معدوم يرني غير انت، غير انت، غير انت اللي دخلت قلبي. غير انت، غير انت، غير انت اللي ساكن قلبي. في حالي محيرني، في ليلي مسهرني، ولا شعري حرام يا عمري تعذب فيا. ربيع ما يدوم والوقت يتبان، ده حالي معدوم، حالي معدوم ديرني في البال. غير انت، غير انت، غير انت اللي دخلت قلبي. غير انت، غير انت، غير انت سكن قلبي
So the Masi coming through, and she represents the wonderful music of Algeria that just sounds like magic. Girintha, the title of the song. Thank you very much for being here as we plant the seed and revive the culture and agriculture until 2 p.m. in Central African time. Just in case you started listening, we are streaming live on YouTube and Facebook. Should you wish to watch the show, you can do so there on our Channel Africa pages. Otherwise, tune in on satellite, that is on the DSTV audio bouquet, channel 802. So let's talk about what is happening in terms of looking at statistics and research around hunger in South Africa. All right. A new national study by Food Forward SA and UCT's Saldru have basically revealed a deepening hunger crisis in South Africa. Rising prices, unemployment issues like a stagnant economy as we see it are pushing millions into desperate coping mechanisms. So from cutting portions to skipping meals is what we are seeing happening in many households. And we are talking here about nearly 16 million people who now face inadequate or severely inadequate access to food, with the Western Cape, or rather the Eastern Cape, I beg your pardon, being the hardest hit at this time. Female-headed households also carry a heavy load when we look at this. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about Food Forward SA and their work in this particular case. Bobby Jacobs is the Fund Development Manager at Food Forward South Africa to help you and I unpack these findings as I'd detail them. Bobby, welcome to Planting the Seed. Welcome to Channel Africa. Pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you so much, Mamitseko, and thank you for having me on the show. Thank you for the opportunity for us to be able to discuss our work and this very, very serious issue.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think perhaps that is a good place to start, Bobby. Talk to us about the work of Food Forward SA.
So Food Forward SA is the only registered food bank in South Africa, and we are the largest registered food bank on the continent. We basically rescue surplus food from within the food supply chain. So farmers, agri-processors, food manufacturers, and retailers throughout the supply chain. We find and rescue surplus food, and we redistribute that food through our warehouses in South Africa to vulnerable communities who need food.
Okay. Let's talk about the study. You got together with the University of Cape Town to really look into matters of hunger, which is very important. I think we're all looking at what is happening between now and the year 2030 as we strive for zero hunger, and hopefully we get there before 2030. But what was the single most urgent insight from the study?
So the urgent insight from the study is that hunger is deepening and that the crisis is getting worse, not better, in the short term. That people in already poor communities, already vulnerable communities, such as the Eastern Cape, such as the Northwest Province, Limpopo, etc., are now experiencing the intensity of hunger to the point where they're selling assets in order to make ends meet. They're going into debt, sort of high interest debt, to just buy food. So, yeah, within the short term, at the very least, the hunger crisis sort of started with COVID and has slowly sort of kept with us through our slow economic growth is definitely worsening.
Right. Are you able to just give us insight as to why the Eastern Cape is at the top of well, as the epicenter, I guess, of food insecurity at this time?
Sure. So I think there are multiple failures at multiple levels within the Eastern Cape. So it's already vulnerable. It's already suffering from a burden of failures at local government, at provincial government. It's already failing or failing to support its citizens in a number of ways. And so when issues around lack of access to food or lack of access to nutritious food, or when, electricity prices increase, when other things increase, then suddenly food becomes unaffordable and the burden is borne by the poorest of the poor.
Right. Okay. I mean, we're going to talk about just your role as Food Forward SA, how it actually works, with your networks, because I would imagine, I think similar to our good friends that we're going to talk to rather at one, there is a big relationship between the work that you're doing with logistics and your relationships with agro processors, as you'd mentioned, and farmers and restaurants, etc. So we'll get into that, but talk to us about the fact that there are female-led and youth-led households that are the hardest hit. Just some of the factors that are driving this particular vulnerability. You mentioned the economic downturn in the country, but what are the other perhaps social issues that we are dealing with at the moment?
So again, I believe that, there is probably a lot that can be done at a systemic level, and there are interventions that I think government should be thinking about or implementing to alleviate these particular vulnerabilities. But these exist because of a number of factors. So, we know we have high youth unemployment. We know we have child or youth-headed households. We know that with the cut of funding to NGOs, with the USAID cuts, we have a lot less social support and a lot less community support available within poor and vulnerable communities. So all of these factors build and make youth-headed households, households that are, female-led, already vulnerable households, even more vulnerable and susceptible to price increases, to increasing increasing utility prices. So all of these little shocks add up, and basically the burden then falls on these households.
All right. If you've just started listening, thank you for tuning in. You are with Channel Africa, Planting the Seed, and we are speaking to Bobby Jacobs, and she represents Food Forward South Africa. And we're looking at some very revealing data around hunger statistics here in South Africa. Bobby, let's talk about these stats. Food Forward South Africa, how are you going to be using this particular data and information to shift or to strengthen your strategy going forward?
So yeah, the reason we undertook the study with SALDRU was because while we suspected that there was this deepening crisis within our communities at a household level, we wanted to find out for sure. And so the study was quite extensive. Over 750 households were surveyed, plus we had a focus group with SALDRU and community members. And so we needed to really understand what was impacting people at a household level. And it was very, very clear that, people are resorting to ever more desperate coping mechanisms, from meal stretching to, now getting store credit, high cost credit, selling assets. Worst that we heard was people are now foregoing medications. So people who are on ARV treatments, people who are on TB treatments are now foregoing their medication because they don't have access to food.
Right.
And then, within the grant cycle and the seasonal job gaps, we're finding that, people who are within the social security net, their money only lasts maybe for 2, maybe 3 weeks into the month. And then for the last 2 weeks of the month, they're essentially scraping, trying to figure out different ways, begging, part-time work, borrowing, just to get 1 or 2 meals in that week to get them through the week to their next grant payday.
This is devastating. And, as I'm hearing you speak, this is a problem that just, it sounds bigger than ordinary people, and I think that what you're mentioning is very important around rallying everyone from the top to really assist from the top up, as it were. But let's talk about just Food Forward SA, I beg your pardon, and the work that you're going to be doing between now and the year 2030, which is not as far as we think it is. How do you plan to roll
Absolutely.
out, structures to really assist and to, I guess, grow your network? Because I think the more hands, the more resources at a top level, the better. Hey.
Absolutely. And so one of the places that we need to start is that one of the most interesting things, given this devastating hunger, given that 17.8 million people are food insecure in this country, is that we are not classified by the UN Food and Agricultural Union as a secure country. We produce enough food in our country to feed all our citizens. And every single year, 10 million tons of food goes to waste. So I think that people need to start taking, with people within the supply chain, food actors within the supply chain, which includes government, which includes manufacturers,
Right.
retailers, food producers, need to start seriously considering what they're doing with the excess or surplus food that within their structures and why they're not donating that food.
Why are we not donating the food? I really just cannot wrap my mind around that. I mean, the economics of it is giving us a different story, but what we're seeing on the ground is completely different, which is so sad. But lastly, before I let you go, Bobby, let's talk about I guess the work of ordinary South Africans all over, perhaps businesses. How can people just rally support? And I think particularly for the work around the work of Food Forward SA, how can we all support the work that you are doing, whether it's at a volunteer level or contributing with resources, and how far will that take the organization and its mission?
Sure. So I think there are several ways in which people, businesses, individuals, communities can get involved. So in the short term, there is kind of measures that we put in place. Part of it is our Festive Food Box campaign that we're running at the moment. You can go to foodforwardsa.org, click on donate, and for 500 Rand, you can feed a family of 4 for the festive season. We're currently taking some volunteers in November to come help us pack food boxes so that they get distributed in early December, and hopefully through December and January, there'll be fewer families going hungry this festive season. Then at a kind of policy and advocacy level, we are working with the Consumer Goods Council of South Africa and South African Bureau of Standards to bring out a national standard for food donations, which we hope will eventually become the groundwork for a food donations policy. There is room for legislation, like there has been in other countries, to ban organic waste to landfill. They've done it in France, they've done it in other countries, the Good Samaritan law, the complete ban of organic waste to landfill, so that food manufacturers, agri-processors are forced to donate their surplus food into the system, and so that we can then redistribute that food to people who need it most.
Right. Okay, very important. Foodforwardsa.org. Okay, should you wish to get more information, perhaps also just acquaint yourself with the food banking model as put together, of course, by Food Forward SA. You can sign up. There's a volunteer form on there and take action. Let's all take action. In fact, I'm signing up to be a volunteer for this festive season, and I encourage you to do the same if you are tuning in from the South African region. Bobby, thank you very much. I think you and I have to have a part 2 and really look at the policies around the policies as you mentioned them. I think there's a lot of good knowledge there that we can share in terms of what those structures can look like and how they can filter through to the ordinary South African. Thank you once again for the time this afternoon.
Thank you so much for having me. I would love the opportunity to work with you and take this further. But thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you. That is the voice of Bobby Bobby Jacobs, who is joining us from Food Forward South Africa. And what we are seeing in terms of hunger statistics is unacceptable. And these conversations are not conversations just for the sake of it. This is data to help you and I to continue on the journey, however little we can do in our communities. Because doesn't it start with us? I think it starts with us. You know, you've got some extra food, you've got some solutions, you can help feed 1 or 2 children in your neighborhood. I think let's start there. But Bobby Jacobs was joining us in her capacity as Fund Development Manager at Food Forward SA. So we can really look at how the organization is responding to these statistics around hunger, and they work with Saldru as well. Very, very, very critical. So foodforwardsa.org should you wish to acquaint yourself with the work. An organization doing some similar work and introducing some new programs in food rescue is SA Harvest. We're going to be speaking to them after 1 p.m.
Global leaders, African insights. Follow the G20 Summit with Channel Africa as it happens. Agri-tech, innovation, and the voices growing Africa's food future. Planting the Seed with Mateko Musito every Sunday from 12 to 2 p.m. only on Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Kiss you, yeah.
No matter where you are, Channel Africa is always with you.
Listen to the voice of reason. Words of wisdom have to be ushered. A better world have to be built. Listen to the voice of reason. To unchain the hearts, images of a new dream, images of a new society should emerge. Hearken the voice of reason. Racial hatred must cease. Killing machines must end. The other factories must close. A ticking time bomb must be diffused. And the dark of peace must reign. Racial venom is like a social dynamite. Racial venom is like a social dynamite. It is like a revival for Perrier syndrome, a syndrome of death and destruction. This is the voice of consent, a voice of social redemption. An eye for an eye makes the world blind. Reconciliation and reconstruction is like a dark cloud, giving way to the blue sky. Humankind must put an end to war, or war will put an end to humankind. Africa and the world cannot afford self-pity. If something is not worth living for, it is not worth dying for. Yes, this is the voice of reason in search of liberty eternal. humankind. Think positive. Choose life. This is the voice of reason, but it shapes the conscience of humankind. That was the voice of reason.
Annie Kalonji sur Channel Africa.
Comment est-ce que les militants et sympathisants du parti Les Transformateurs ont-ils réagi face à la condamnation de Succès Masra?
La condamnation de Succès Masra ne nous a pas surpris et les militants transformateurs ont été bouleversés et indignés étant donné que le verdict est un verdict lourd, illégal, injuste et donc face à la répression dans laquelle le peuple tchadien est confronté, les militants transformateurs se sont résignés de ne pouvoir pas sortir manifester et donc c'est une situation totalement absurde pour un pays et aujourd'hui nous célébrons le 11 août, fête de l'indépendance. On pensait que le verdict allait être plus ou moins clément mais le verdict est sévère.
Annie Kalonji, tous les dimanches sur Mix Vibration.
The voice of the continent, now online, with all your sports fixtures, lifestyle, and more.
Moving to Kenya with Eric Wainaina's wonderful music. We're 8 minutes into 1 p.m. in Central African time. Thank you very much for tuning in to Planting the Seed as we revive the culture in agriculture. Also discussing matters around transformation, regenerative futures as we all try and build them. Thank you for listening to the show. Also, we are on satellite in Southern Africa, OpenView HD channel 628 and the DSTV audio bouquet channel 802. Today we are speaking to Ozzy Nell in his capacity as Chief Executive Officer of SA Harvest. You know, they are good friends of the show. They are South Africa's fastest growing food rescue and logistics non-profit organization, known for challenging the system as we know it, that has allowed hunger to persist in the manner that we are seeing on a national level here in South Africa. So under Ozzy's leadership, SA Harvest is going to be rescuing over 60 million kilograms of food. In fact, they've been doing that since the year 2019 and are now scaling their impact through innovation, new interventions, and the Greenhouse program, which I'm very excited to speak to Ozzy about, because as I understand it, it is designed to transform food waste into sustainable food security, empowering communities all over South Africa, and also building spaces for food sovereignty to thrive, as it were. Ozzy, it is a pleasure to finally speak to you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Matseko. Such a privilege to be speaking to you and the listeners today.
Thank you. I think, listen, we've got to get the elephant out the room. You are the brand new CEO at SA Harvest, and we're very, very excited to have you on board. How do you feel being in such an important role at this time?
Like I said, I must be honest with you, Maseko. It's an absolute privilege. I work with an incredible team. And if I look at the community-based organizations we serve as SA Harvest, there's so much potential and so much knowledge at grassroots level. And we're really building a supply chain system that empowers those community-based organizations to make a real difference.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's also just important, Ozzy, for us to mention that SA Harvest has done such tremendous work. 60 million, tons and tons and tons and kilograms of food that has been rescued in its good condition to really serve communities everywhere. Just talk to us about that history. I think it's very important to acknowledge the work that has been done so far.
Yes, absolutely. So I think a lot of people will know by now that we live in a country where more than 10 million tons of edible, nutritious food goes to landfill. You know, our supply chain system, that value chain, is extremely complex, and it creates a lot of excess that does not meet, not all of it goes to retail shelves. A lot of it goes to landfill, which creates real problems from a CO2 emission point of view.
Right.
And at the same time, we know we've got almost 18 million South Africans that don't know where their next meal is going to come from. So it's really about solving a logistical issue, getting this surplus into the hands of community-based organizations that can turn it into meals for so many marginalized people in our country.
All right. Let's talk about the Greenhouse program. It's a new initiative. How is it all going to unfold?
Look, Matseko, what we've been looking at, we spend a lot of time on the ground really listening, understanding what our community-based organizations need. And I can tell you there is so much potential, so much knowledge at grassroots level that we realize, we really need to tackle, ECDs, the nutritional gaps that there are. I mean, we live in a country where a third of our kids are already showing serious signs of stunting if you look between the 0 to 5 age group. So for us, a big focus was by creating these greenhouses is to make sure that even though we rescue a lot of produce that goes into our CBO network, we needed to make sure that our basket is really nutritional.
Absolutely.
So we focus on our ECDs, and that's where we're building these greenhouses to add to the daily diets, but also to teach young kids the value of being able to grow your own food, and getting your fingers in the soil so you can change perception.
I love that. I like that you're also teaching children about where their food comes from and growing it and all of that, because also I would imagine, Ozzy, that the Greenhouse initiative, as we see it, is also going to be teaching children and communities that you're going to be serving that what is happening in our country with hunger is not because of scarcity. It's not because there is a lack of food. And I guess that's where you come in. So let's talk about how the program is going to unfold. Have you started with building the greenhouses? Where are we in the project at the moment?
Absolutely, it's part of our Smart Hub program. We've done about 7 greenhouses already. One that I'm really proud of, I actually just came back from a small village called Kwebeni, which is just outside Port St. John's in the old Pondoland region.
Right.
And we were actually able, with partners in our collective, to get a ECD built. We then built the greenhouse, and now through the Lingham Foundation, we're actually also building a community center. And what is important is, so this Smart Hub concept is always done from grassroots level up. It's built by the community. And then we plug in our excess that we rescue out of the value chain into these community-based smart hubs.
Okay. It sounds like a good plan. It really does. We're 14 minutes into 1 p.m. in Central African time. Our good friends at SA Harvest are back on the show. And this time around, we're speaking to the Chief Executive Officer, Ozzy Nel, who is talking to us about new initiatives, a new initiative in the name of the Greenhouse Program, and how it is designed to really transform spaces for communities, to create safe spaces for food sovereignty to really thrive in our country, South Africa. I'd like us to take a quick break, and we'll return with Ozzy after this.
Welcome to Planting the Seed with Matseko Musito on Channel Africa. Got something to say? Are you passionate about issues that matter? Do you have a voice that deserves to be heard? Well, we've got the perfect platform for you. Call in or drop us a WhatsApp on +27 63 406 9126, and we will call you back so you could have your say and be part of the conversation.
30 years of age. I just turned 30 on the 15th of November. So that's who I am, you know.
It's not just talk. It's your chance to air your views, share your opinion, engage with the community that values your perspective. Follow us on our social media. Visit our website at www.channelafrica.co.za and get ready to share your views on Channel Africa, the African perspective. We are reviving the culture in agriculture with Planting the Seed every Sunday on Channel Africa.
We're 16 minutes into 1 p.m. If you've just started listening, a pleasure to have you on board. We are speaking to the Chief Executive Officer of SA Harvest, which is South Africa's fastest growing food rescue and logistics non-profit organization. And they are challenging all of us just through their existence alone, that you and I can make a difference in our communities. But what they have been able to do over many years in terms of really sort of rescuing many kilograms of food. We're talking over 60 million kilograms of food since the year 2019, and it's looking really good with projects like the Greenhouse Program that has come into the fore and is run by Ozzy Nel and his wonderful team. Ozzy, let's talk about, perhaps let's pick up the conversation, look at the criteria that is used to select community-based organizations that are partnering with SA Harvest. How do you ensure long-term sustainability rather than resilience?
I think, first of all, it's important to understand that, as SA Harvest, we have a community-based organizations committee. Mm-hmm. So we have people within SA Harvest that spend a lot of time on the ground finding small community-based organizations that we can amplify what they are doing. So we've built a network through really spending time on the ground in different areas, and then finding small ECDs that need a little bit of infrastructure, but they've been in that community for years already. And that's for us, it's so important then to really then amplify what they're doing and be a conduit to the rest of corporate SA to enable real impact.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any sort of method that you use as your success indicators?
Yeah, it's twofold. On one side, a lot of it has been through referrals, actually communities, that we've engaged. We've done a lot of sample data interviews, and they will actually tell us who are the organizations within a certain demographical area that we can trust. We then have a team that will go and interview it, and everything is digitized. So we have a platform where we have a digital platform where we capture the data, and then we open up that data to larger corporate companies that want to show impact in a specific area.
Okay. And I mean, you've described donor participation as infrastructure investment rather than for us to just look at it through the lens of charity. How can corporates here in South Africa shift their mindset to match this particular vision that you're growing?
Look, I mean, if you look at the food value chain, there's incredible knowledge and years of expertise in that value chain. What we need is corporate partners that can bring that expertise and help us build quite a few extra smart hubs all over the country with the expertise, and where we can then redirect all of this excess food and turn it into nutritious meals.
Okay, and then just elaborate for us on the types of partnerships then, just on that note, Ozzy, the kind of partnerships that SA Harvest is looking at, what resources, I think also at this critical time during the festive season where many families are going to be looking to be fed, what is most urgent to help scale, I think particularly this project that we're talking about at a national level?
Look, I mean, the most urgent thing for us as SA Harvest is really that, our model enables us to get enough nutrition out of excess stock to these organizations. And we're doing it at the cost of R1.20 a meal. So that means our entire overheads of our organization versus how many meals we are able to enable in these communities are not even costing us R1.20 a meal. But we need to be able to scale that. We need to have a lot more community-based organizations. We've got almost 1,500 organizations all over South Africa that are waiting to come and join us and become part of the program. But for that, we will definitely need a lot more input from corporates.
Okay. Ozzy, another frequently asked question that comes up quite a lot after we speak to you guys is the issue of, just organizations, whether they are in the townships, wherever they are, that want to have SA Harvest support their initiatives. I think because there's been so much aid that has been removed from many regions here on the African continent, hunger still persists. And, we're looking at policy shifts. So people are still not able to access good quality food. Anything that those organizations can do to perhaps have the SA Harvest truck in their communities to support the work that's already being done in those communities, but perhaps additional help from SA Harvest.
Absolutely. They've got to go and look at our website. It's www.saharvest.org, and they can actually apply online. And what that then enables us is to really have really good data on what are the capabilities at grassroots levels in different areas through these community-based organizations.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so we're looking ahead at the future, Ozzy. The year is about to wrap up. 2026 is literally upon us. So let's talk about your vision as the newly appointed Chief Executive Officer. What does SA Harvest look like from your lens in terms of, innovation, just the future overall? What are you seeing, and what would you like the goal to be?
Look, I mean, for the team, we've set ourselves a huge goal for next year to enable at least 40 million meals. For us, it's really about getting, really pushing, because the size of the problem is huge. So we are looking at how do we take organizations, companies within the food value chain, the giants that move stock around, to help us build quite a few smart hubs and help us redirect as much stock as possible. Yeah, very important. So go on the SA Harvest website, just that website again, Ozzy? It's www.saharvest.org. Okay, very simple. Please go on there and just have a look at the work. Perhaps you are
a corporate entity, a business entity, and would like to just get in and really do something meaningful for your country, for South Africa. And also, if you are a community-based organization and would like some assistance, you can go on the SA Harvest website as well. That's saharvest.org. Ozzy, a pleasure to meet your acquaintance, and all the best for what's left of 2025 for you and the team. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Matseko. Take care.
Thank you. Ozzy Nal is the CEO of SA Harvest, which is a food rescue organization here in South Africa. A passionate bunch of human beings. I promise you, whether you're in Durban, in Johannesburg, and other regions that they serve here in South Africa, you are really just going to meet the most amazing human beings. And they have taken the time over several years to build a network because they can't do this by themselves. They need other places and spaces, logistics to help them. They need corporates to help them, but they're all one big family, even with the communities and the families that they serve. So big love to our good friends at SA Harvest. This is us at 25 minutes past 1 p.m. in Central African time. A big theme of curbing hunger. We use South Africa as an example, but there are many regions here on the African continent that are suffering the same fate of worsening hunger, deepening hunger, and it is depressing to see, because it is not a problem of scarcity, but a problem of just communities coming together, but also a shift in policies, which is something that we're definitely going to interrogate in the not too distant future. We're going to have a roundtable and really look at what needs to shift at a policy level so that we can get our people fed before the year 2030.
Gratitude begins with a story. Find yours on Channel Africa, now streaming on our new website and mobile app. The G20 Summit through African eyes, live updates, and expert voices only on Channel Africa.
Million boy, 13 milli with another Domafia King Sena Baratri. Allô papa, j'ai encore tapé le million. J'attends la transaction. Ils sont pas prêts pour la suite. Zéro fuite, my baby. Ils m'ont pas vu venir. Si mission nous compte, on a mis baby baoade. Hey mi ona, Azokubana. Na me resuma, bon au point. Précis dans le jeu, être à l'abri du danger. Comme jamais, je suis solide, reconnu par la police. Y'en a beaucoup dans le que ça. On part à la chasse, multiplier des sommes. Rendez-vous au somme, pour la réussite, y'a le seum. Maman, wa mon babola, aïe, ou à la voix, dis-nous à vos pauvres. Baïda, Bogota, maestro. Nous que voulez, wa mourir jamais. On va tester comme un fleuri, Italie. Les Joma, wa. Y'a mis la tole me. Every Mario, true Mario, pour Mario, des collègues que t'avais comme look at it, yeah. Y'a ma bien mère que a fait ma go. Andale, baby, viens, on s'en va de l'autre côté. J'gone. J'avance seulement. Oh, j'avance seulement. J'avance seulement. Oh, j'avance seulement. J'avance seulement. Oh, j'avance seulement. J'avance seulement. Ils étaient où? Ces conseillers quand j'avais rien, j'étais au fond. Tu m'as blessé. Je t'ai blessé, au final tu trouves sur mon vie. On la voit kilo, je suis sorti d'un dos. Moi j'ai fait la queue. À chacun sa croix, rien n'est gratuit. Dans les méthodis. Negro Mawa, Every Mario, true Mario, poor Mario, they collect the job and come. Look at it, yeah. You might be a mere boy, I feel my boy. Andale, baby, yeah, on s'en va de l'autre côté. J'gonna. J'avance seulement, j'avance seulement. Oh, j'avance seulement. J'avance seulement. Charlie, moi j'avance seulement. Oh, j'avance seulement. J'avance seulement. À Pékin, Bogota. Travail de l'eau. Marie à 8. Junior dans la paix. Pas combien adoré. Young Rich. Never forget my people, never forget my ghetto. Tu connais très bien le Colombien, tu reconnais. Aïda Bogota, chef de guerre en personne, Quinto Mafia. La concu est pillée, capitale à nos pieds. Pays en otage, bisous, ben. Didier Adjakli, I see you, man.
Your life, your rhythm, your Africa. Channel Africa. Find it for free on Google Play and the Apple App Store. soil to smart tech. Young Africans are leading the agri-revolution. Mateko Mosito on Planting the Seed with vibrant stories and expert voices. Sundays, noon to 2 p.m. Only on Channel Africa, the African perspective.
E beijaste a minha boca. Quando dei por mim eu já tava com a tua roupa. Os teus planos são os meus, nos amamos na vida louca. Paixão, gemidos e vinho é nossa onda. Ai, 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 a noite toda. Mas o que aconteceu? Onde foi a ternura? Dizias que eras meu, sempre foste da rua. Quem é ela? Quem é ela? Eu preciso saber se era apenas uma ou se deitavas com qualquer mulher. Não encosta no meu peito, não diz que vai dar tudo certo. Vai e comete uma loucura, não vou querer saber, jura. Preciso que te vás embora, tenho tantas saudades tuas. Eu tenho medo. Penso e me pergunto, foi tudo um engano? Todos os momentos, todos os meus planos. E deste-me tanto, tanta alegria, luz no meu dia, tantas mentiras. Mas o que aconteceu? Onde foi a ternura? Juravas que eras meu, sempre foste da rua. Quem é ela? Eu preciso saber se era apenas uma ou se deitavas com qualquer mulher. Não encosta no meu peito, não diz que vai dar tudo certo. Vai e comete uma loucura, não vou querer saber, jura. Preciso que te vás embora, tenho tantas saudades tuas. E eu tenho medo. Eu tenho medo. Eu tenho medo. Eu tenho medo.
The G20 Summit through African eyes, live updates, and expert voices. Only on Channel Africa. You are listening to Planting the Seed with Mateko Mosito on Channel Africa.
Another manga. les bougas, je shake your bakasi, to shake your bakasi. Of your leg, no got it, lose got it legally. No, never know but you, none of us in a soul, the B.I.B.B. Better dance, get a better dance, get a better dance, get a better dance, get a better dance. Bon appétit, c'est mes messi. À mes paris, Rocky Malafi. Champs-Élysées, juste des Lamborghini. Ton côté body, la nefatiti. J'ai fait rimanti with the bagassi. On a des baby, on a baptisé. J'ai one that I'm living up in me. Make my head dance, get a better dance, get a better dance, get a better dance, get a better dance. Make my head dance, get a better dance, get a better dance, get a better dance. Get a boo, 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 get a boo
África. Conhece o Ntivani?
Claro que sou eu.
Ntivani é o amante da música de corpo e alma.
Eu amo música africana.
Ele aprecia todos os tipos de melodias e passa os seus dias a ouvir a Channel África. Adivinha só, a Channel África quer ajudar o Ntivani e os amantes da música em todo o lado a descobrir ainda mais música incrível. Por isso, a Channel África está a convocar artistas africanos a submeterem as suas músicas. Músicos, lembrem-se de nos dar todas as informações relevantes no music@channelafrica.co.za. As submissões são a vossa oportunidade de ser ouvidos, mas não garantem inclusão na lista. Todas as submissões serão cuidadosamente analisadas para verificar se cumprem os requisitos da nossa estação. Canal África, a perspectiva africana.
Planting the seed digs deep into the trends shaping Africa's agriculture. Every Sunday, 12 to 2 p.m. with Matseko Musito. Expert insights and real conversations on Channel Africa, the African perspective.
1:42 on the digital clock. Thank you for staying with us as we weave the sound into the soil and play you good music and talk all things agriculture. Listen, was it last week when we had the co-founder of Food for Mzansi on the show, Ivor Price, and we were also just celebrating the fact that they, Food for Mzansi, that is, as a premier agricultural publication that is putting the African farmer's story on the forefront. And it was yesterday in that hall at the University of Johannesburg Soweto campus when I actually found out that some of their articles have moved to 6 million eyes, a single article that is. Moving to 6 million eyes. So that should tell you about the impact of the work of Food for Mzansi in how they write about the farming story, in how they are telling the story of the South African farmer, the black South African farmer, and how they are feeding nations. You know, very big contributions that they're doing. Yesterday, they hosted the Summit on Climate Change and Agriculture. We heard from one of the doctors that was presenting there, representing one of the big banks, talking about carbon footprints and also how, farmers can take advantage of that space. But a keynote yesterday was given by a woman who is really going to change places and spaces. You know, I speak of Wangari Maathai very highly, and I include Simphiwe Sithole in that conversation, because she is really shaping the narrative of the black feminine farmer. She understands climate resilience like I have never heard before, and she is a farmer in Mpumalanga, basically growing indigenous crops and teaching young people and farmers around indigenous crops and the benefits, not only for farming and for business, but really for our bodies as well. Eating indigenous food, eating locally, eating seasonally, the benefits of that and the ripple effect of that is really just tremendous. So I'm very excited to share just a small snippet of Mam Simphiwe Sithole's keynote address that she gave in front of a group of farmers and people working in the agricultural sector. Turning African crops into a movement was the subject matter. So she basically unpacked how African Marmalade, which is her farming organization, is empowering small-scale farmers. She also gave us insight on reviving indigenous crops and building climate-resilient food systems, which is something she understands very, very well. So we're going to play her clip, okay? My technical producer on the show is going to push play for us, but I wanted to say, please listen to it attentively. This is the best, okay? I know you've watched TED Talks, but this is right at the top of the food chain when we really look at women who are in the front line when it comes to food security.
Tree. Let me lift it and go plant it somewhere so that we are kind of spread. We don't do that. We are assuming that they will always be there. Recently, we're driving from Kwanongoma going through Sierra Richards Bay, and we pass Kwahlabisa. It is one area that still has got amahlala. Many areas I was saying aware amahlala. You meet people that tell you that I have not eaten amahlala for the past 20 years or whatever. So these are some of the things. Amabekwe, marotse, amachodo, let's plant those. Amabele, definitely upatata. It does not need to be irrigated. It does very well in dry farming. Turf is another thing, particularly for those of you that are going to get into the land that previously people were using synthetic fertilizers. So if you plant turf, it helps you to actually fixes your soil. So we can actually grow there. So year one, probably you'll be growing more to fix the soil instead of actually hoping to harvest anything. And then we get to things like millet. We've also done, and this present is going to be available through Prof. Malan, and people will be able to look at it in detail. But there was a research that was done by the Department of Agriculture a couple of years ago that was trying to do an analysis of a number of micro and macro nutrients on both what they called the conventional or popular or common vegetables, which was a cabbage. They call it Swiss chard, but it's basically spinach and kale. They compared that with things like ulude, lirutu, imbuya, and umsobo, all these indigenous African stuff. And they came up with this. What we did, so there is the scientific research, which you look at it, Prof, and then what we did was to simplify it so that you get to understand what it means. So, okay, if unomuntu omdala ongasafuna ukudla a little bit, what is it that you're supposed to feed that person? If that person only has got a capacity to consume for an intake of 300 grams, what should be in that 300 grams based on the nutrition value of these things? So that's what we did. And all of those things tops up. I mean, we've looked into the benefits of these crops, so the nutritional value. These are not poverty food. You were not eating them because you were poor, you needed to eat that. So we've looked into that, we've done the comparison, why it's good for you. Let's move on to the next slide. We've also done a comparison. So if you think about it, what people do, a person eats maize with cabbage. Now, if you were, so we here just try and remember the numbers in terms of like this, what is the nutritional value of iron? And remember, as a country, we are vitamin A and iron deficient. So you look into that, look into the iron and things like protein from this on the grain side. And then we're going to flip and get to the other side where you're going to see on the greens. So when you now look, so what we did, again, this was covered by SA Chefs magazine. So one of the things that we've tried to do is to influence to be in the right spaces. So we're speaking to the culinary industry because the chefs set the trend. They determine what we end up eating. If you add something at a hotel, at a restaurant, you'll say, "King into it." Next time you walk into a shop and you sit, you start to buy and cook it at your home. So
just a snippet to give you insight as to who Simphiwe Sithole is and how important she is. And isn't that just a voice? Isn't that a voice? I mean, you literally want to hear her speak when she starts speaking. Lots of knowledge around farming, indigenous plants, from sorghum. Yesterday, she brought a whole lot of products in the lecture room. There was sorghum, there was millet, and other sort of indigenous beans that you will not find at a supermarket. And a lot of the knowledge that she was sharing yesterday was around seedlings and seed banks, because if you want to start planting some of these seeds, where are you going to find them? So that is another issue that we were interrogating in the room yesterday. And she's also, she's done tremendous work. She's produced for television shows here in South Africa, one of them being Shaka Ilembe. You know that they were, of course, moving through a completely different century, and they had to find indigenous food. And she, in her knowledge of indigenous food, was there as part of the production to help the production find the right bananas that had seeds in them. Okay, not the ones that we're eating today. Well, that's the grand finale of the show this afternoon. Thank you very much for tuning in as we spoke much about hunger situations and looked at matters of climate resilience. Right now, though, we are 9 minutes away from 2 p.m. in Central African time, which means, you know what that means, right? We are making way for NETO. He's already in his chairman's chair, ready to take over with Africa at Play.
A very good afternoon, MM, and a very good afternoon to all the Channel Africans, especially the faithfuls of Africa at Play. We are anticipating an exciting edition of Africa at Play. We will be talking all things, the final ticket to be booked on the African continent between the Super Eagles of Nigeria and the Democratic Republic of Congo. And this is after they triumphed in the semi-finals of the FIFA World Cup African Qualifiers Playoff Tournament. So the Super Eagles of Nigeria, they managed to win against Gabon by 4-1. And DRC managed to beat the Indomitable Lions of Cameroon by 1-0. I'm just wondering if the Indomitable Lions are still indomitable, because by the look of things, the shape and the landscape of football in Africa has changed. So Nigeria will take on DRC to decide who gets the final ticket. We already have 9 African nations that have qualified for the upcoming FIFA World Cup 2026 that will be taking place in Canada, Mexico, and the United States. And South Africa is one of those. Morocco is part of that list. Egypt is part of that list. So it's going to be an exciting World Cup. So we will be talking to our West African correspondent, Tony Robani, to build up to this match that is taking place at 2100 Central African time, and it's happening in Rabat, Morocco, in North Africa. We will also talk to Blanche Muila, a pioneer in South African road runner, a legend when it comes to running, who received the Presidential Sport Award for Lifetime Sports Achievement from the world icon in Nelson Mandela in 2001. And their connection is symbolic of Mandela's broader use of sports to unite the nation and recognize trailblazers who broke racial barriers during the apartheid era. And we will also be talking all things taekwondo with the Kenya Taekwondo Federation president, that is Major Suleiman Sumba, at 16:30 Central African time. The World Under-21 Taekwondo Championships will be taking place in Kenya, Nairobi, from the 3rd to the 6th of December, and it's the first ever edition on African soil. Africa at Play. Hasta luego.
Ow, Tata, president of Neto Sports Global. Isn't that scary? That you're president of something. Hey?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so listen, if you want to catch an extended of Africa at Play, just Google Neto Sports Global and you'll see some really good things there. But for all intents and purposes, Neto Chamane in his chairman's chair to bring you Africa at Play with his team, and Imali is here behind the scenes to produce the program and enjoy the sporting programming. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully I will be back in studio with you next week Sunday as we talk all things agriculture. Thank you to the rest of the team who made the show a huge success. Dumi Salema on social media, the wonderful feminine energy that made sure that we are live on YouTube and Facebook, and Catherine Choo Maleka on technical operation. It was a pleasure, dear friend. Thank you always.
Keep Africa in your hands. Connect to our website for all your news, sports, and cultural updates. channelafrica.co.za.
Gotta take a little time, a little time.